Hello everybody and welcome to Workshop Studios. This is a tool tip time. So I'm going to give you one of my little tips that I found over using various tools. In this case, the tool is my little electric chainsaw. Electric chainsaws are really great. They're very light, compact. They do a super job of cutting through some actually pretty big stuff. Like over there, you see all that? I cut through all that with this little chainsaw. So I'm a huge fan of them. There is one downside, and that is that when you oil them, so you need to put oil in for the chain, so it's bar oil. You put the oil in here, it fills this little chamber up here, and then the oil will come out, sort of leak out on its own, but you can also use this little bulb to push down on to push more oil onto the chain. So all good, except that these are sort of gravity fed, which means that as it sits here, if I fill this chamber up and then I don't use it for a month or two, all this oil will sort of slowly leak out and make a huge mess. In fact, if I look under here, you may be able to see there's a little bit of oil already. I don't know if you can see that, but this is oil from this. There's some oil there. So it's leaking out of this thing. And I had a hard time figuring out how to make that so that it wasn't a problem. And what they tell you in the instructions is when you're done using it, you have to take the cap off and pour the oil out back into the container. Well, for those of you who end up pouring things out, it's always a big mess. So what I've tried to do is limit how much I put in here. I never fill it up anymore. I used to fill it up just like I would my regular powered chainsaw, gas-powered chainsaw, but in this case I just put a little bit in for the job I'm doing, so that I don't have a huge amount that leaks out if for some reason it does. But doing that with the chain oil containers that they sell, especially those big bottles of bar oil, is really a challenge. So I came up with this idea of putting the bar oil into one of these, which is just like you'd call it a ketchup holder. And so it's got this little top will come off, and there's the bar oil in there, you can see it. And it allows it, first of all, it has a nice wide opening if I do need to pour back in here. But secondly is that little spout allows me to really measure how much I want to put in there. And it keeps dripping to a minimum. You might ask what this is. Well, that's an old sock that I've cut the end off of. So there's the ends cut off. And the reason I did that is these things inevitably get greasy and oily and are hard to hold on to, whether it's a regular bar oil thing or this. So I thought, you know what, I'll just put an old sock on there, and that sort of soaks up the oil and keeps it so that I can hold on to that bottle without losing it or slipping. And so anyhow, my tool trick today is only put a little bit of oil in. If you put your oil in one of these containers, then you can measure it very easily with this. It has a nice wide opening, so if you need to pour back in, and if you put a sock on, it keeps it from getting messy and slippery, and so you don't get oil all over your hands every time you handle it. All right, so there's not too much to this. I just take an old gym sock and I cut the top part off here and then use that to put it on there. Let's cut that off like that. Then you have this little bit. And by the way, I do like labeling it. I've got a paint marker from Amazon, I think it was. And they're very handy. I like that. But in this case, I usually know what's in there. So anyhow, that just slides over there like that. And there you go. All done. By the way, this is just, again, one of those things you can buy from Walmart or Amazon or whatever. The bottle itself. And it's got this little tab down here, and that's very handy because you can push that on there, and then it's not in your way when you're squirting things in. All right, that was all I had to say about it. Oh, and just a side note is that I have 3 different chainsaws. I have an electric pole saw, an electric hand chainsaw, which you've seen, and I have a regular gas-powered chainsaw as well. I use this for all of them. It's just the handiest way to get oil in there without making a big mess. And usually I can keep this out with the chainsaws because it's nicely covered up, and I can keep it near there and then just fill this up when I need it. Just a side note, If you want to do this with something else like a little bigger container, you can take the rest of the sock and just cut that off. Cut the bottom out. And then if for some reason this bottle is going to get used a lot and get greasy on the outside, that bottom part will go around this bigger bottle. If I can do this, let me put it on there and I'll show you. Okay, so just go over the top of it and voila. So you have the same thing if you have a bottle of something like motor oil that you only use a little bit of every time. Kind of nice to keep it from getting greasy on the outside. So if you do want to do something like that, you can. There. Well, that's it for this video. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. See ya. Bye.